Okay, so we are back to the lovely public library homepage, and I want to talk to you about the location portlet. For those of you who have a legacy site with Ploud, you're probably not using the location portlet. You're using pretty much a plain text box, but all new sites get what is called a location and hours portlet. This has the ability to Google Map your location and provide directions. So the nice thing about this is it gives you an editable set of fields that have the option of main branch. You put in your address, your phone number. There is a free text box for putting in your hours. There is a second free text box for any kind of text that you want to write about. And you can either add or remove the default library image so that you've got a picture of the inside or exterior of your library. And then you save that, and it provides this page with the Google Map. So this is up to you whether you would like to use this, but it does come as a default now on all of the new sites that are being delivered to Michigan Libraries. So now that we have gone over the configuration options, let's talk about actually adding content. So I'm going to go to my home page by clicking on my site logo, and I'm going to go to the all-important Add New. And I'm going to add a folder because I have a number of pieces of content that I would like to add to the site today, and I'm going to place them all within a folder. My folder's title is going to be Friends Group. Summary, once again, this is used in search results, so it's important that it's both descriptive and accurate. The lovely library Friends Group organizes book sales and other events in support of the library. And save. You can see that it's marked private and that it is not yet appearing in my global navigation. I am going to publish this piece of content, and now it does appear. Now I'm going to add pages, portlets, links, and files within this folder. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a new page. I get a title, Friends of the Lovely Library since 1985. Once again, the all-important summary. Read about our meeting schedule, book sales, 5K run to support the library, and many other programs. Change note would be for any time that you make edits to a page after the initial time. Now, I went ahead and created some text ahead of today so that I wouldn't have to type everything from memory. So let me go to my page and get some content here. So this is content about the Friends Group, and I'm going to save it. This has now been created for the first time, and it is also marked private. I'm going to publish it. I now have my first page, Friends of the Lovely Library since 1985, and I can see my text that runs down the center of the page. However, this is not the text that runs down the center of the page of the folder. The folder shows the little page icon, the title, the editor, and the last modified date. We have complete control over this, and we will be changing how this appears in just a moment. The next thing I want to add to my folder is a portlet. I would like a little message from the Friends Group Director to appear over here above location. I'm going to click on Manage Portlets. I'm going to add a static text portlet This is the default when you just want to have room for some text. Join us. Then I have a full tiny MCE editor to type whatever text I would like. You too can join the friends of the lovely library. Call 517-555-4565 and speak to our president, Julie. Now we have a couple of options for how we would like this to appear. We can get a border, we can get a footer, and we can also get a URL that will link out to another place. I'm just going to save this with the default setting, but feel free to play with those later. And I can now see that I have a portlet assigned here, meaning this folder, our directions right here, and it's called Join Us. If I go back to my Friends group folder, it appears at the top here. You too can join the Friends of the Lovely Library, call and speak to our president. Now let's go ahead and add some more content to our folder. I'm going to add a file. This is the Spring 2016 newsletter. Everything needs a description for discoverability. Learn about our upcoming events, the ways we support the library, and get involved with us. This is when you want to add an external document to your site. So I'm going to choose a file. Pretty much any format will do. I've got a PDF here, Friends Newsletter, Spring 2016. I click Save, and you'll notice that there's something a little bit different about files. There's no publishing action. It's automatically live, and it appears here, Friends Newsletter Spring 2016. So the file name is what becomes the hyperlink. So you want to be careful that you've got a good title there. I'm going to go back to my folder view, and I can see that I now have two items in my folder. My page, Friends of the Lovely Library, and my item, Spring 2016 newsletter. I'm now going to add a link, title, Friends of Michigan Library. We are proud supporters and members of the statewide organization. We want the URL, SOML.org. And again, a change note if we're a later editing period for you. Links are published or private, so I'm going to publish this. And I can see now that I've got a folder that I'm building up items within my folder over here. Now, once I have my items in my folder, there's a couple of things that I can choose to do. One of them is to decide when I want this folder to show up. I can also do this with individual items within the folder, but I'm going to show you how to do it for the folder as a whole. If you go into Edit for the folder as a whole and click on Date, you can choose a publishing date and an expiration date. So you could get all of your content. Can anybody else hear me? I've suddenly lost all sound. My microphone is working. Yes, okay. Good. Oh, terrified me there, Ann. Okay, thank you. Ann, can you hear me? Maybe Ann has left us. Okay. So you can choose a publishing date in the future. So you could come and you could get all of your content ready for your summer reading program and set it to appear at a future time. You can also set it to expire at the end of summer reading so that you don't have to go in and delete every individual page. It will simply come off your site when you enter a time. So I'm going to say that I want my friends group content to come down at the end of the year. I'm going to pick December 31st. I can pick a time and save, and it will automatically come down on December 31st. Now let's take a look at these all-important display options, because this is not a great-looking page. You've got a folder with 3 different items here, and it's just not very attractive. This is where display comes into effect. So one of the options is to select the content item as default view. This is where you select one single item in your folder, and that becomes the center of your folder page. So I have Friends of the Lovely Library since 1985, and if I save that, when I click on my folder, this page is going to show up down the middle of my screen. Over on the left, under my navigation, I'm going to have the other options from that folder. If I want everything to show up, I've got some other views. There's standard view, which is what we were looking at. There's thumbnail view. This is when you have images. There's tabular view, which would be okay for some things, I guess. I've never found a instance where I really thought that tabular view was the best way to display my content, but it is available to you. And there is the all-important to remember summary view. This is probably the nicest view. It will show the title, the description that you wrote, and if you want more information to appear under each of these, simply write more information, and then a link to get some more information about it. And it displays each of the different types of content equally. So you've got your page, you've got your file, you've got your link, and they're not distinguished. They're all displayed with equal seriousness. So are there any questions about creating that type of content? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and talk about calendar items because I know that calendar items are huge. So we go under News and Events and click on Events, and that will take us to our calendar. The calendar has a number of color-coded images or icons that will demonstrate what's going on a page. To get to an item, you can either click on it and it will open up the entire piece of content, which includes the title, the description, the body, as well as when the event is happening, or you can simply click on the little down arrow and get a short description of what's happening. August 3rd, the time, and the title of the event, story time. So I am going to add 3 different types of events. The first event I'm going to add is the Friends book sale. Semi-annual book sale. So now let's start looking at how these options work. I'm going to click into my event start time, and that's going to be the last Saturday of the month. And you'll see that when I select the last Saturday of the month, the event end date automatically changes to that same time, assuming that you're going to have a one-day event. I'm going to have my event begin when the library opens at 10 a.m. and end at 5 p.m. when the library closes. So we've got a book sale from 10 to 5. I have location of the event. I'm going to say main library in the basement. Contact name is going to be Julie Autumn, Friends Group President. Her email address. Her phone number, and you might want to put the library's phone number first. If there's a specific URL to this event. You can add that here, your change note, and then we're going to get into this when we talk about some other events and recurrence. List of attendees, this is simply a free text box open to the public. You could also say specifically for toddlers or specifically for middle schoolers, any other age group or particular group of the public that you're targeting with this. And then you also have room here in text that I'm going to go over. I pre-wrote some text for this. And I save it and publish. And I now have semi-annual book sale. We've been collecting book donations all year. When? August 27th from 10 to 5. Where? Main library in the basement. A contact name with a link that will email her. Contact phone, who it's open to, and the ability to add it to your calendar. Pretty simple. Let's go back and look at the calendar and we can see how it appears. Here we have August 27th. August 27th, 10 to 5, Friends Book Sale. Now let's create a weekly event. In my calendar, I'm going to add a new event. I'm going to call this Toddler Tuesdays. Story and playtime for 2 to 5-year-old siblings. Welcome, because we can't keep it out. Okay. Event start date is going to be this coming Tuesday. I'm going to pick a time, which is going to be 10, and it automatically defaults to a 1 hour period, 10 to 11. Location of the event is children's room. Contact name is going to be Philippa Bowden, children's librarian. And here we get into recurrence, and we are going to add a recurrence here. I'm going to say I want this to recur weekly, every single week, on Tuesdays. And then I can say I want it to end after a certain number of occurrences or until a certain date. And I'm going to say that I want this to occur until the end of the next school year, and then we'll reevaluate. Now we have all of the selected dates. We can also take out any that don't work for our library. So let's say that we're going to be closed on Tuesday, April 4th for a staff in-service day. We can exclude Tuesday, April 4th, and it will come off of our calendar. We probably want to put another event on our calendar saying we have a staff day, but at least this won't appear on that day. And if someone downloads it onto their calendar, April 4th will not be downloaded to their calendar. We can also add special days if you wanted to add another event to this sequence. And then we save the event as a whole, and publish. And it shows you the dates that are coming up, where it is, contact name along with a link for an email, the phone, the ability to add it to your calendar. If we go back to the calendar, we now have a recurring event on Tuesdays. And if we open it up, Toddler Tuesdays, 10 to 11 a.m. I'm going to do one more recurring event. Add new event. This is a month-long food for fine. Bring in canned goods in place of a library file. Skip over some of this and go on down to add a recurrence. I'm going to make this a daily event that repeats every day, and I'm going to have it span the month of August. Start on August 1st. And I'm going to add some text. I'm also going to show you how to add an image. So here we have a text box, and in any text box in Ploud, you can add an image. And over here, I'm going to put my cursor, and I'm going to use this little insert/edit image icon in the Tiny MCE text editor. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to upload an image. I'm going to browse my computer for food for fine, the JPEG. And this is a really important feature of Ploud. Do you want to place your images in the default folder where your content is, or do you want to place all of your images together? I would highly recommend that you place all of your images together in your images folder. You already have an images folder in your template, both old sites and new sites, and it's much easier for cleanup. I would recommend that at least once a year, you go through your images folder and you get rid of all of the old content that you're not using anymore. So when you upload an image, you come down here to where you upload it to, in other words, your destination folder, backspace over the folder that you're in, and type in images. And here you get this link for Site Assets Images. And select that as your folder. You also want a title and alternative text. Title is good web practice. Alternative text is for screen reader users, so that when someone who is visually impaired and accessing your website using a screen reading software, they will get this audio clue about what the picture is, and it will say canned food. I'm going to upload this and insert. I can now jerry-rig this image a little bit. I can make it a little bigger or a little smaller. I can move it around on the page. I'm going back here and selecting my alignment. I'm going to select left align and back insert. It doesn't move around a whole lot. It's not perfect, but it can get a little bit better for you. So you can play with it and get your images to be a little more what you want them to be. So now we have saved this recurring event. We're going to publish it, and we're going to go to our calendar, and we'll be able to see that in the month of August, we now have a recurring event on every day for Food for Fine. I would like to take a moment to take you to the knowledge base. That is available to you under your login name under Get Help, and it opens up the Enfold Systems Knowledge Base Help Desk. This has all kinds of videos and short written tutorials on how to do just about everything in Ploud. Because there are so many articles, I would highly recommend that you use the search box to find what you need. So for Michigan, there are a couple of Michigan-specific help desk articles, including adding IMLS logo and information and adding the Michigan eLibrary search to your site. Those are for us. If you need to log a support ticket, if your site is down, if there's something you can't figure out how to do, if you need to ask a question, You simply come up here and click on New Support Ticket. If you need credentials you will need credentials in order to do this. And if you don't have them, please contact me and I can get you set up with those. Their turnaround time is usually pretty good, usually about 24 hours, and they will have a good answer back to you. Oftentimes it's even faster than that, but I think they do give themselves a full 24 hours. I also would like to take you quickly to mishlibrary.org, which is the homepage for this site, or the homepage for this program, and some information about training. This is where the registration information is for the 2016 workshop series. This is where we had access to the beginner's webinar, and I'll also post the beginner's webinar videos here. And that concludes my talk for today. I need a couple of things from you all. I need you to fill out an evaluation for me. And I also am able to take questions at this point. I'm going to stop the recording for a moment.